Welcome back to our Cryengine tutorial video set. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about terrain. So when you first create your map, terrain naturally starts at absolute zero, which is below the surface of the water. And that's pretty boring. So we're going to go ahead and go on up to our menu bar up here and click on terrain. And under here, we go to edit terrain, and this will bring up our terrain editor window. And as you can see here in the editor window, it gives you a little miniature map. And you can also live edit the terrain in the viewport to the side as well. So a few of our options along the top, you'll notice that we have our standard save and load. We also have some different options under modify, like set water levels, set maximum height of terrain, set the unit size, things like that. And then you have all of these contextual buttons along the top, like clear terrain and resize and invert. So clear terrain is going to take any terrain changes you've made and just revert them back to their original state. So if you've created something that you completely hate, you can click clear and it will take you back to your original state. Resize allows you to resize the amount of terrain that you have. So whenever you created your map, whatever number you put in there, this allows you to change it. Invert terrain does what it says, and any terrain changes you have made, it will invert them, so it would be upside down. So if you had a mountain, it would then be a valley. Over here we have this function called noise, and what noise does is it takes your terrain and just kind of makes it naturally bumpy in a way that looks really natural. So like if I was going to create a forest, and I was going to place trees all over that forest. Well, the forest isn't exactly flat. The forest, the forest floor kind of raises and lowers, so that's what that does. And as the opposite of noise, we also have smooth here, and so smooth will take things that are a little rough and make them smooth. I mean, this is all pretty self-explanatory. And then we have this interesting option here, generate terrain. If we go ahead and click on Generate Terrain, you can see that it brings up a bunch of options for you. Things like feature size and bumpiness and detail, and you can mess around with all these options. And once you have them set the way you want, it is very easy to just click OK, and it will generate a bit of terrain for you. You can see how it did that here. And there's a lot of very tall mountains on my terrain now. So you kind of have to mess with it a little bit to get exactly what you want. But it's a very easy way to make a lot of terrain without hand placing every little feature. On the top, you'll also notice that we have the surface button, and when we talk about textures, we will go into that. And then we also have the light button. And this light button does the same thing as the lighting module under terrain. So it's just another way to access that. Over here on the right-hand side, we have all of our manual options for adjusting terrain. This outside radius is the outside radius of your brush, and the inside radius is what it says, the inside radius of your brush. The hardness is the opacity of your brush, if you will. And then the height is the maximum height that your brush is going to raise to. And so if you want to manually adjust your terrain, all of these sliders will help you do that. Along the top, these buttons you can also see will give you some quick options for brushes and opacity if you don't want to go through the work of the sliders. Another way to edit your terrain is that we also have over in the roll-up bar here, under terrain, you can do all of the modifying terrain in that tab. So if you need to just quickly do something, you can pull it up in the roll-up bar. But in the terrain editor, you also have the options of being able to live edit the terrain right inside of the window, which is nice, because you have this mini map here and it provides a different perspective on the map that makes it easier to edit terrain with. All right, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and close up.